This will be my bow this season in the Florida woods, and it's great to think about last year, last fall actually. This was a persimmon tree that got knocked down by Hurricane Milton, and instead of rotting away, it's now going to accompany me on many hunts. Hit my own arrow. Hope I didn't break it. Looks broken. Great. Good morning, everyone. Probably should have started this video series a little bit earlier, but I really want to document this build because I'm working with one of my favorite bow woods of all time, Persimmon. I've got a couple of Persimmon bows built over the years, one all wood, one fiberglass and Persimmon that is my absolute favorite bow to shoot. And I've been wanting to build a third one with my latest limb curve design for a long time now. And on a recent fishing trip, I finally got an opportunity. We were in a spot by a creek and came by a patch of persimmons. And anybody who was down here last year knows all the damage Hurricane Milton did. Well, I found a persimmon of the right width for me to make bow laminations from, and it was snapped in half. And it had a part of the trunk that was straight enough for me to use. All I need is about 3 feet. I had my doubts. Here's what it looked like. That's the trunk of the persimmon. Like I said, I only need like a 3-4 inch diameter or so, but this tree was completely snapped in half and laying across the ground. So the first thing I did was take it to my table saw to try to get slats cut out of it that I can dry. It dries a lot faster than trying to dry it with the bark on. These are a couple of the scraps that came off it. I save the scraps for lines in the handle or to cover the tips. But here's what I was worried about. I started seeing, you see a lot of that in persimmon anyway, a lot of those little holes and whatnot. But these little boogers right here, little sawdust pockets, there was all kinds of boring beetle larvae in all those pockets. So I wasn't sure that I was going to get any salvageable wood out of this tree. But after drying, I ended up finding some. And I had so much success with my last cypress bow using a single lamb design rather than using 2 lambs that are epoxied together. I decided that I want to build a single lamination persimmon bow. So that's what this is. These are the rough sawn and rough sanded laminations. I'm going to hit them with a sanding block and a finer grit on the sandpaper to get a smoother, more consistent finish down both of these laminations. But that's what we're looking at right now. I don't see any of the beetle larvae damage in them. So at this point, that's what I have right now. I've got, like I said, it was only like a 3 to 4 foot section of persimmon log that I got. But that's all I need. So these were both cut from the same stretch of log, and I joined them together in the middle. But in the finished product, that'll be behind the riser, so you won't even see that bit. Speaking of the riser, here are the pieces for me to saw out. Again, I took one of the scrap laminations of the persimmon to run that, give it a stripe. On the outside here, this is walnut. And this is special walnut that I've held on for a long time. I got this from a buddy over 10 years ago at a archery shoot, and this particular walnut was salvaged from an old barn somewhere. So it's some old growth walnut, and it's got some pretty cool figuring in it. I'm not sure, how much it's going to show with my handle design, but I've been saving this wood for so long. I wanted to save it for a special bow project, and the fact that I finally got my hands on some good persimmon to work with, I think this is the right project to build it. So this is the stage that we're at now. Like I said, the next step is hand sanding the laminations and using my bandsaw to cut out these individual components of the riser. So I'll get that done as I can get to it, and update you with more videos later. Thanks, everyone. I just had a thought. As long as, I was telling you about Persimmon bow build and how much it means to me to be working with this kind of wood again, I understand a lot of folks that watch my videos have similar interests and hobbies and everything, into the fishing and hunting thing and stuff. I take what I can get when it comes to hardwoods that I like to work with. Fortunately, we have storms roll through often enough where I'm able to, harvest some broken pieces and branches and whatnot and use that. And it usually ends up working pretty good. But I figure since I'm putting this out there on YouTube, and, I'd never know who's watching your videos, if anybody's ever has any access to persimmons, any of the fruiting trees, mulberry. I really like to work with mulberry, walnut, ash, anything like that. I love building with native Florida woods. That's my favorite thing. I love harvesting a part of a tree from the same woods that we might hunt or explore, fish in, that kind of thing, and being able to make like a work of art out of it and taking that same thing back to the woods. I don't know, there's just something poetic about it, so I really enjoy that. And I suppose I'll just put it out there, if anybody watching this video ever has like access to any of those trees, any native Florida wood that's maybe broken off in a storm or something, and instead of getting rid of it or burning it or whatever, just drop a little note in the comments below and let me know, and doesn't matter to me. I'll take a ride to get some good quality natural Florida wood anytime, and I can make some really cool things with it. So it is well worth it for me to take a little bit of drive and see if I can harvest a little bit, or make a deal or something like that, so I can have access to a good quality wood source. But anyway, I just thought I would take a moment and put that out there. As long as I'm putting it on YouTube and everything, might as well talk about it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I can't wait to update you with the next steps in the build. Okay, quick bow project update. I've got the riser components cut out on the bandsaw, did some smoothing and sanding with the oscillating belt sander. So that should be pretty much lined up. I'll set them on the mold later and make sure everything fits just right. Do some hand sanding if there's any areas that need to be smoothed down a little bit more to get good fitment. And I'm going to do a little bit more hand sanding on the lamination, just to make sure we are all perfectly level but still retain enough grit to hold the epoxy really well. So after this step, after that sanding and last minute fitting is done, it'll be going into the mold with the epoxy and fiberglass for curing. Alright, just want to give a quick check-in update. Stole a little time this morning for the persimmon bow glue up, so just wanted to do a quick layout of everything. I've got the form set out, epoxy mixed up. Already applied the first layer to the back of the clear fiberglass back and the persimmon, and I'll be smoothing that on, sandwiching everything together, working in the middle of the riser here, the walnut and persimmon riser in a little bit, and setting it on the form. I use these actually tire tube slices as rubber bands between the screws to keep the pressure on while it is in the hot box in the epoxy setting. So I'm going to get down to this job, and then I will film an update after we're all assembled, put together on the form, and ready to put some heat on it. Alright, just a quick update here. Got about an hour's worth of work in. Project went pretty smooth. Here we go. She's all set in the mold. So the next step is we take her out, put her in the hot box, probably take about 48 hours or so in there for that epoxy to set and that form to take. And we'll take her out, take all the bands off, take the tape off, and hopefully we'll have a new bow ready to cut and shape. Just a quick update on the bow build. I had it on heat for about 3 days. Just got it out, gonna let it cool down for a little bit. Take the bands off, take it out of the mold, and hopefully everything will line up just right. So All right, everyone, here she is out of the mold. Curves look good, everything looks solid, everything looks straight. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. Hi, Midnight. Pretty happy with this so far. So next thing that I'm gonna do, gonna measure up all the lines that I drew and make sure that they are still aligned with the position of the riser. They're still centrally aligned with each other. And if all that checks out, I'm gonna take it outside to the saw and do some rough cuts. Here we are. I just got in from the garage. I used my table saw to trim off all the excess bleed over epoxy on either side. So gives us a good idea of how the profile is gonna look, and it lets me lay it down on the granite countertop here. It's a convenient way to measure straightness and make sure that the measurements that I made early on are still holding true. Now I can see just maybe 1/8 of an inch or less variance there on the edges. So I think what I'm going to do is just remeasure, shift that center line just ever so slightly over so we have an absolute perfect alignment through dead center. So that'll be the next thing that I do. Remeasure the center line, check, double check, triple check, and then use my table saw to cut out a rough pyramid limb profile. All right, next step is done. I reset the center line a little bit. It was just off by about 1/8 of an inch, so I got that just right, perfect. Took it out to the saw, cut out the profile, and hit it with the oscillating belt sander for a little bit to smooth all the rough edges down. Next step is we're going to take off the tape and see how we did, see what lies beneath. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to catch you up on the next steps of my Persimmon Longbow build here. I got it all out and showing, shape roughed out. That Persimmon is looking beautiful. I am really happy with the look of it. There's no bubbles in the epoxy or anything else that any real imperfections. So I am thrilled with the way that it's looking so far. You know, I can't wait to see the finished product with these things, and I really want to get to shooting it. But the truth is, you know, I have a lot of time to finish them, so I just take it one step at a time. Got the walnut riser block cut out there, so one step is going to be epoxying that to the rest of the riser here. I love the features in the walnut. It would look really pretty, but I also think to, you know, keep with the consistent look of the Persimmon that I should probably top it with some Persimmon. But I don't know. Haven't made up my mind yet. I have a little time to think about it. So I'll make up my mind today. Maybe cut a slice of Persimmon and just do some testing and see how it looks. But in any case, that's gonna get overlaid right here, smoothed in, and it should really finish out the basic look of everything. Just fed the peacock bass today. They're all lit up, enjoying those minnows. What an awesome fish. I am so thrilled to have them in my tank. So cool. Anyway, we have the riser block epoxied into place now. Walnut and persimmon laminations to match what it's already on the bow. I decided just to go with a single outside walnut lamination. The walnut is just so darn pretty. It's old, it's special, so I love it, and I think it complements the look well. And similarly, I have put walnut tips installed, epoxied in. So the next step that I'm going to do is get out my sanding block, make sure that the limb edges are smooth and shaped down perfectly so it's ready to take a bend. And I'm going to get on the belt sander and shape those in, cut in my string nocks, and then we will string her up and start checking the tiller. Before I do any work on the handle, I'm going to make sure the tiller is right and the way that I want it. If I have a slight positive tiller, that'll help me determine which end of the riser is going to be the future upper end of the bow. I cannot wait to shoot this thing. All right, next milestone in the build here. You can see she's coming together pretty nicely. I've got the whole riser assembly glued up now. Had the epoxy mostly sanded off where it's spilled over, but I am pretty happy with the results. I've got to spend a little bit more time feathering in all of the ends here, but I'm pretty happy with the way that's looking so far. I've also started a little bit of work on the limb tips, so just some basic shaping done so far. I'm going to go after that with some hand tools, sanding block, and get the final shape on it that I really want before I cut the nocks, smooth the limbs one last time, and then possibly we'll be ready to string her up and see how she balances out. Thanks for sticking with me so far. I'm getting excited. All right, here we go. So I got the string nocks kind of smoothed out, worked on, roughed into place a little bit. There's that one. There's the other. Happy with their look so far. Again, everything's rough right now, needs a lot of refining, but little by little we're getting there. We're off to a pretty good start. As you can see, I've got her strung up for the first time. I'm really happy the way it looks. The symmetry is pretty outstanding. So when I build a new bow like this, I like to string it up and just let it rest like that. Let the wood and the limbs kind of get used to bending a little bit. Get a little compression going on. Just get them accustomed to the bending that they'll be doing for the rest of their lives. So I'll leave it like this for a while before I start exercising the limbs and kind of working, letting the bend settle in and everything. But I am super happy with the symmetry. It looks almost perfect to me. So I am going to do some careful measuring from the end of the fades up to the string, just to determine if either end has a slight positive tiller. Just looking at it, I'm thinking that this end over here has got a little positive tiller to it. So if that holds true, then this end will be the top of the bow. I'll cut the shelf and handle in here. The draw weight felt just slightly heavier than I was shooting for. I was shooting for like 45, 47 pounds around there. It feels like it's in the low 50s to me, maybe 53, 55-ish. But again, I haven't drawn it back. I've just strung it up. So I'm just purely guessing right now. After I start exercising the limbs a little bit, I take it to full draw a few times and I'll measure the... If it comes in too heavy, I'll just shave the sides of the limbs down just a little bit and give myself a couple extra pounds of freedom in there. Maybe take it down to around the 50-pound range. But, you know, the low 50s is still comfortable shooting weight for me. So the way everything's lined up, as long as it's not excessive to where it would make for an uncomfortable shot for me, I'll probably keep it where it's at. I'm super excited to get her strung up for the first time and see how beautiful these curves are laid out and how symmetrical everything is. So the build is going terrific so far, and I am super excited, and I will check in the future. Been a little bit since my last update on this project. I went up to North Carolina for Father's Day, took my son, we did some hiking, did some trout fishing. So been about a week since I got my hands on it, but you can see I've got the profile of the limbs all cut out, sanded. I've got the nocks roughed in. Everything looked good and straight enough for me to go ahead and brace it. So I braced it for its first time, drew it back a couple times. Tiller is just as I planned. It originally came in just slightly heavier than my target, so I did some additional sanding on the limbs. The tiller remains exactly the same. I just shaved off a couple extra pounds, so it's a little bit more comfortable for me to shoot. Then I roughed out the handle with my jigsaw, and now I'm using some hand rasps and my sanders to start to shape the riser like I want. I molded a piece of clay to fit my grip as if I was holding a bow. So what I try to do now when I'm making the risers is to follow those contour lines as best as I can, so it results in the most natural and comfortable grip that I can get, which is really important for being a good shot and hunter. So anyway, this is where I am with the project. I'm going to keep on working away at the riser and getting that shape down where I want it. I thought this was a good time to do a little catch up on the Persimmon bow build that I've been working on. So made some more good progress shaping the handle. Like we said in my previous little updates, we've got the limbs all measured, balanced, the tiller was perfect and everything. Actually to the point where, you know, when I get around this point, I'll take it out and I'll put a few arrows through it because I want to see, you know, how it feels, how the handle feels, it feels natural enough. I want to get the limbs used to bending and shooting. I want to see how it feels in hand. So I did that yesterday, put a few dozen arrows through it. It did pretty good. Actually, it did great. My problem was that it was, you know, it was still a few pounds heavier on the draw than I wanted it to be, and I've been wanting to build another persimmon bow for so long. I want this one to be exactly right. So I just did one of the most difficult things to do when you build your own bows, not because it's hard, but because it's nerve-wracking. After you get everything lined up and tailored just right, the way you want it, you know, sometimes if it's drawing a little too heavy, you've got to go back, put it back on the sander, take a little bit more off the sides, and try to come down another just a couple pounds in weight down is what I'm looking for. But I figure, you know, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. So, and that's what I'm after. So I just had this outside. I took off fractions of an inch, a couple millimeters off of each side. I did it as evenly as possible. A little bit more taking off towards the outer limbs because I felt like when I saw it at full brace, I felt like they could use a little bit more flexion. So I took a little bit more up there to increase the bending towards the tips. But now, you know, I'll have to start off by hand what I was doing before. Sand it with the block, ensure everything is even, go up in grit to make sure it's perfectly smooth before I even think about bracing it again. Then brace it, take measurements on the tiller, make sure my tiller still holds, and if not, I'll have to adjust to get that tiller right back to where I want it. So yeah, you know, another few days worth of work for me because I only get to work on it, you know, an hour here and an hour there. But I think in the final product, it will be worth that little bit of extra investment. You know, I want a lot of years of shooting and hunting with this bow. So I want it to be perfectly comfortable in hand. You know, when something walks out on me, I don't want any trouble, you know, coming back to full draw and holding it there, you know, if I need a little bit of extra time. So that's the goal with this one. But I am pretty darn happy with the progress so far. I like the way everything's looking, and I've got that little bit of work ahead of me, and then I will catch you up on the next update. Here she is after the adjustments have been made. Measured it up. We still have a 1/4 inch of positive tiller, which is exactly what we were going for. So I installed the string, bracing it at 7.5 inches just for this first, well, second round of arrows. First, after the adjustment was made my little yarn string silencers. So after a few shots, those will floof out and start doing their job really good. But I'm gonna take her outside and put a couple dozen arrows through her and see how they fly. See how that new adjusted draw weight feels. And then we will go from there. And here we are. Came in a little while ago from shooting a few dozen arrows through her. Arrows flew great, had good consistency. Boat felt good in my hands, so I'm really excited about that. I think my brace height might have come down a little bit as the string has settled in. Not a big deal. The arrows are shooting just slightly weak, but you know, I think I'm going to raise the brace height and shoot with a little bit higher brace height anyway. So we've got plenty of time for tuning down the road. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself now, just worrying about that. Put the scale on it, so we are pulling 51.6 pounds on average at 27-inch draw. which is spot on. It is like just what I was looking for. It's right there in my comfort zone, so I'm very, very happy with that. From here, I mean, I'll probably leave her braced up for the rest of the day, maybe tomorrow or whatever, but the next step now is just going to be some fine woodworking detail, get out all of the tool marks, take care of a little bit extra shaping, and start to seal her up. So everything's been worked out, it's been braced, it's been shot. I don't remember if I mentioned on my last update, but it was coming in at 51 pounds at 27-inch draw, which is absolutely perfect for me. So I finished the detailed sanding for the riser. Got everything the way that I wanted it. Same thing with the knocking points at the tips. And I started with the application of the finish. So I like to use the Birchwood KC True Oil, the gun stock. I hand apply it. For the first couple applications, I do it with some really fine sandpaper and work the finish and to a really fine slurry to work into all the pores to give us a real perfect, smooth, glass-like finish. And then what I'll do from here is I'll hand apply, on average, 1 layer a day, depending on how quickly it dries. Sometimes I can get 2 in a day. Sometimes I need a few days of drying in between to really let it set in there. But I'll apply several layers, sand down fine, apply several more layers, sand down fine, apply several more, sand down fine. I'll continue that process until I get everything perfectly smooth and glassy. But for all intents and purposes, this is the finished product. So I am super, super happy with the way that everything's turned out. I love the character and the color in that walnut. I love the persimmon, typical of persimmon. It's got a lot of highlights and individual markings in there. I just absolutely love it. Thanks for joining me so far on this build. I can't wait to share the finished product with you. Hey everyone. Here is the persimmon bow in its final form. Got all the woodwork on the handle done, everything's finished up. I'm really happy with the color, really happy with the way everything's shaped. I think the limbs are in the right profile at that brace height. It shoots nice and quiet. That's it. Just wanted to share the finished project with y'all. Thank you for joining me through this whole build process. Hopefully I'll be able to take her out if the rain holds off this afternoon and to put some arrows through her. Good morning everybody. It's been a several weeks since I finished the persimmon bow build, so I've just been practicing with it, and I know I promised in one of my videos that I would spend some time outside with it and show y'all how it shoots in action. So I remembered to bring the camera with me today and set up, and I'll shoot a few arrows with it. I apologize for the loud cicadas. It's July in Florida and I don't have much say in the matter, so they're going to be loud, but that's okay. We're going to shoot anyway. Just toss out my little ground target here, set up my new little chair that I got from Amazon for my ground hunting setup. I intend to do a lot more ground hunting this year. Here's the bow, how it came out. Again, it's just a little bit above 50-pound draw, drawing 27 inches. I have it braced at just a hair over 8 inches. It seems to be where it likes to be braced at. So without further ado, let's put a few arrows through it. There we go. It should work. These cicadas, I swear, every time I start recording, can't help it. They're just everywhere. So I hope you can hear me and that this doesn't come out too bad. Loud trucks and cicadas. Anyway. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed the build. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you watching, and I can't wait to build the next one.